ದೇವಾದಿದೇವ ಶ್ರೀವಾಸುದೇವ ಕವವಯ್ಯನನ್ನು ಕರುಣಾಲವಾಲ ದೇವಾದಿ ದೇವ ಈ ವೇಳೆನ అరుచత్రులను ఈ వేళన అరుచత్రులను నీవే పరాత్రోలి నిజప్న చేసి నీవే పరాత్రోలి నిజప్న చేసి దేవాది దేవ శ్రీవాసుదేవ కవవయ్యనన్ను కరుణాలవాల దేవాది దేవ నే చేసిన భూజాపలము నే చేసిన భూజాపలము నాయువజియ పుణ్యఫలము నే చేసిన భూజాపలము నాయుర్వజియ పుణ్యఫలము శ్రీ జానకి శ్రీ జానకి ఈ జన్మ మిల్చి శ్రీ జానకి ఈ జన్మ మిల్చి నన్ను తన్యునిక పువి జేవిదివే నన్ను తన్యునిక పువి జేవిదివే దేవాది దేవ శ్రీవాసుదేవ కవవయ్యనన్ను కరుణాలవాల దేవాది దేవా
So, I'm speaking with Professor Noel Seth, SJ, from Bombay, from Mumbai, and he is professor, I have to remind myself, professor of Indian and Asian religions in the Department of Interreligious Studies at St. Xavier College. He also teaches at Pune at the Jnana Vidyapith, Pontifical Institute of Philosophy and Religion in Pune. He has been studying the Bhagavata Purana for many decades. Your first book was called The Divinity of Krishna. It's been a kind of groundbreaking work, I would say, in comparative study of the Bhagavata, the Harivamsha, another text that tells the story of Krishna, and also of the Vishnu Purana. The Bhagavata Purana seems to be a kind of culmination of these three. Would you say that's the case?
Yes, very much so, very much so.
In what sense?
A culmination in various respects. First of all, from the point of view of bringing out the deeper and even mystical meaning of many of the episodes in the life of Krishna. They are brought out much more beautifully and more deeply in the Bhagavata Purana compared to the Vishnu Purana and the Harivamsha. So that is one, development that has taken place in the Bhagavata Purana. And many of the episodes I find, besides narrating the episode, it makes a certain suggestions and even explicit statements to bring out the richer and deeper meaning, which therefore does not only influence our minds, but touches our hearts, moves our spirits. So to me it is a deeply religious text, and a text which is meant for transformation. Transformation of oneself and transformation of society and also of nature. So it's a holistic transformation that I find in the Bhagavata Purana.
Would you say that this is a reason why the Bhagavata has endured through the ages? the 1,000 or more years of its existence, that it's still
Yes,
of interest
this
today?
is certainly one of the reasons. I find many other reasons. You know, I'm speaking spontaneously because
Yes,
you didn't
that's
warn me
fine.
of what you're
I
going to
know.
ask me about. But another reason why the Bhagavata is really so popular is that it has got this ability, or it has in itself something that I see in myself. It's not only as an individual, but as a particular person belonging to a tradition. I'm talking from the Hindu side, okay, a particular tradition, say the Chaitanya tradition, or the Vallabha tradition, or the Madhva tradition, and so on, or even the Advaita tradition of Vallabhacharya. Each one of these traditions finds each one of themselves in the text. So it's just like the Bhagavad Gita. The Bhagavad Gita also speaks to people of different traditions. So many commentators, like Shankaracharya wrote a commentary, Ramanuja wrote a commentary, Madhva wrote a commentary, and so on. And each one of them finds something there in the Bhagavad Gita which they find within their own tradition. So in that sense, it's not something that interests and makes people attracted to the Bhagavata because of only one particular stream. It has many things there together.
Yes.
So as a result, different traditions are attracted to it. This is another reason. To use the Sanskrit terms, the Bhagavata is, if you like, the bimba, and these traditions are the various pratibimbas, reflecting different
reflection.
aspects of that original one, which is reflected in different ways in these things. It's not that it is refracted so much, but there are elements there which correspond to the later developments in these traditions, and therefore each one of them can claim the Bhagavata as their scripture, their best scripture,
Yes.
without any contradiction against the other group.
The term bimba, of course, meaning image,
Yes.
pratibimba meaning
Yes.
reflection.
Reflection,
Yeah.
yes.
Speaking of identification, different traditions, if we go a step further, considering that you are yourself a Jesuit of the Roman Catholic tradition, can one say that it extends even that far, that Christians may find something in the Bhagavata that resonates with
Yes.
their
Yes.
vision?
Yes. Well, yeah, very much so, very much so. But to
Qualify.
not to follow, but to precede this, to preface it. To
Yeah.
preface it, I remember when I was studying there at Harvard, Professor Daniel Ingalls was my guide.
Yes.
And because he knew that I was a priest, I was a Jesuit,
Yeah.
and he asked me once. He says, "How do you look at these, various stories which are so erotic, in the Bhagavata Purana? I mean, as a priest and as a Jesuit." So I said, I have no problem with it. We also have that in our Christian tradition, in Saint Teresa of Avila, Saint John of the Cross. And I've written about these things also in some of my articles.
Right.
Not at that time, but later on. So that was a question that he put to me at that time, which is similar to your question, but yours is a broader question. So, but in some of the articles that I have written, I have pointed out how we Christians can learn certain things from the Bhagavata. Like one of them is the Vatsalya Bhakti, the devotion towards God, not as the son or daughter of God, but as the parent of God, the father or the mother of God.
This is what seems like a radical reversal
Yes,
of what
a
we
radical
usually think
reversal.
of in the Christian
Yes, yes, yes. And I have written saying that we also have a devotion in Christianity to the child Jesus.
Yes.
There is a very famous place in Prague,
Yes, I've been
They
there.
have the infant Jesus there.
Yes.
I've been there to that place.
Yeah.
But that same infant Jesus, shown as an infant, okay, has a crown on his head and the whole globe, the whole
Yes.
world in his hand.
Yeah.
And our carols, that we sing at Christmas time are singing to the baby Jesus, but the words do not give that message. The words are, "Come, let us adore," as in the Latin carol,
Yes.
which exists in English and other languages also.
Yeah.
Venite adoremus. Come, let us adore.
Yes.
So we go down on our knees. So this kind of bhakti, or relationship of devotion, is like the servant to the master or the Lord relationship.
Yeah.
You can also have a relationship which is not between a higher and a lower person, or an equal person. That is a sakhya relationship
Right.
of friendship.
Yes.
People are on both levels and same.
Yes.
We can also have the lover-beloved relationship, which I said we also have in Christianity.
Song of Songs.
The Song of Songs, yes. But this particular devotion of considering God as our child is present to some extent in Spain and the countries that were colonized by Spain.
Oh.
Yeah. The Spanish word for the baby is niño. And they have the special feast. And so they have lullabies to put the baby Jesus to sleep.
Oh. Okay.
But for most of the rest of Christianity, we don't have that at all.
Yeah.
So now, but when Krishna Jayanti comes, the birthday of Krishna, similarly for others also,
Yes.
like Ram Navami,
Krishna's
Rama's
birthday.
Krishna's birthday, we have lullabies being sung to the baby Jesus who is being swung around from left to right, people are pulling the string and putting the baby Krishna to sleep.
Yeah.
But it's something very appropriate for Christians because we are also celebrating the birth of the baby Jesus. God did not become an adult.
Yeah.
God became a baby. A baby who is kissable, lovable, who is helpless, needs to be protected, even to be taken to Egypt and so on and so forth.
Right.
Okay? But somehow we don't have this parental
That's been
love.
missed.
We miss it.
So you're
And one of the
bringing-
things we can learn from the
Yeah.
Bhagavata Purana.
That's very nice.
Another dimension in the same line is the emphasis on emotion. The Bhagavata Purana is filled with emotion. And we see that not only in Krishna's behavior, but especially in the devotees. This afternoon, was it this morning? Yeah, this morning somebody had a talk on Uddhava, okay, and the gopis.
Yeah.
And we are very much accustomed to the emotional reaction of the gopis, who rush out when they hear the flute of Krishna, sometimes, not even fully clothed, or the cooking pot is still there and the food is getting, overcooked, but they are rushing out. Okay, but all that we are aware of. But we don't think of some others, even men, who are filled with emotion in the Bhagavata Purana. And one of them is
Uddhava.
Uddhava.
Yes.
So before Krishna comes, one of the parts in the Bhagavata, before Krishna comes, he is waiting with excitement. And his hair is on end. And when Krishna comes, his voice is choked, he just can't talk.
Yes.
So, you can see the emphasis on emotion.
Yes.
Tremendous emphasis on emotion.
Yes.
That kind of emotion is present in Christianity in certain groups which we call charismatic groups.
Yeah.
There's a lot of emotional build-up. They hold hands, they sing, they shout, and even they fall down and so on and so
Yes.
forth. But most of our Christian devotion is very placid. It's like a
Reserved.
Bhagavad Gita type of devotion.
Yes.
They're like platonic.
Intellectual bhakti.
Intellectual bhakti, exactly. But bhakti is something that comes from the heart.
Yes.
Another passage I remember in the Bhagavata, if I'm not mistaken, yes, it is in the Bhagavata. A man, is on the streets and he's in his dhoti, the traditional Indian dress. So he's in his dhoti and he's telling people, look here, man, I love Krishna, I love Krishna, I love Krishna. He's mad. A man is doing that. Okay. Or even on the gopis who are talking to the grass and the trees and
Yes.
so on, when they are
Where is
blessing,
Krishna?
where
Where
is
is
Krishna?
Krishna?
Where is Krishna? Where is Krishna? Okay.
Yeah.
So, this is a wonderful thing, that we Christians can adopt and can learn to enrich our Christianity, to make our Christianity something that is vibrant.
Wonderful. Today you spoke about the commentarial tradition, and especially about techniques of interpretation. You went through several sorts of techniques, and you brought out how commentators sometimes will enrich, we may say, the meaning of the text by their, what I think would be called exegesis. And perhaps you could just say a few words. You can't tell all that you told, but just something about that, especially in connection with the notion of the popularity of the text.
Yeah, in the context of popularity, I already mentioned that the Bhagavata, evokes an interest in different traditions. Okay? And so when they look at a particular text, which at least as that particular text stands, does not vibrate with their own particular tradition, the way it has developed later on, of course, after the Bhagavata. Like, for example, Krishna being called an incarnation or avatara, and that also not a full avatara but a partial avatara. Okay? Whereas in their understanding, especially in those who are believing in Krishna as the supreme being, for them Krishna is not even an avatara, but is God himself, an avatarin, from whom the other avatars emerge or evolve or come out. So they have another text which I also referred to, that Krishna's to Bhagavan Swayam. Okay, so they catch on to that, but they have to also explain these other texts. Okay, and how to make sense out of it. Okay, of course, it is a later development in their tradition. In other words, it means that there is a development in the religion, even scripturally. This is what I've shown in my book on Krishna, that there is development theologically of our understanding of Krishna. It does not mean, this has been projected into Krishna, but it means how people began to understand Krishna more deeply and more, eloquently and more sort of eminently, put it that way, okay, than they understood in the earlier texts. So from that point of view, I don't mean therefore, that they were concocting things. I mean that they are discovering things. Okay, but in that discovery, okay, there is an enrichment that takes place. So within that context, they use their grammatical and other skills, okay, to construe, to connect one word, not with the word which one would normally think of connecting it, but with something else also there in that text, okay, and bring out a completely different meaning, where you see that Krishna is not a part or not an avatar.
And the nature of Sanskrit is such that it facilitates that.
It facilitates that. It facilitates that. It facilitates. Of course, there are other techniques which they add something else and so on. Interpret a particular, say, an ablative, as I pointed out, as an instrumental case, and so on. So, but as I was telling somebody after our session, I do believe that they are doing it not only for the sake of justifying their own tradition, which is a good cause, but some of the gymnastics that they do, when I write up the paper, I will be able to have time more to bring out that much more. I didn't have the time because I had to jump to other ones. But the way they do it, I feel that they take joy in being able to do that.
It's a kind of
it's
acrobatics.
Exactly. So, I mean, it's not just from the perspective of explaining away the text so that it does not, it doesn't appear to be against what they are holding. That is one of the things, of course. But on the other hand, it's also the joy of being able to do it. And that's
Yeah.
the beauty
Yeah.
of the Sanskrit language.
Yes. You've mentioned 2 or 3 times the word avatara, and it occurs to me that sometimes we translate that word, or we mistranslate it, depending how you see, as incarnation. And I know that in Christian theology, there's a very strong understanding that incarnation applies only to Jesus Christ, that he is the incarnation, and so there's perhaps some resentment with the notion of translating the word avatara with that word. And I think it was, what was his name, Parinder? Forget. Someone wrote an entire book on this subject, Avatar and Incarnation, a few decades ago. Do you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, well, I have written a long article on this.
Oh, okay.
And this is one of my very good articles, which has been printed originally in the United States in the, what is it called, Philosophy East and West.
Oh,
So a journal of comparative philosophy.
Yeah.
So it came out first there, but it has been reprinted in many European languages,
oh.
and also reprinted in India and other places
that's
in
a
English.
sign of a successful
Yeah.
article.
Yes, yes, very much so, very much so. So, I mean, I can
Go on and on.
speak on and on this particular topic, but to say a few things in this particular context, first of all, there are a lot of similarities between the idea of what is called avatara and the incarnation, where there is an emphasis being given to not something that is far away, transcendent, but something that is, has descended. That's a little etymologically the meaning of the word avatara, has descended,
Yeah.
come down to our level, and therefore evokes a relationship that is more intimate than with something who is far away. Something like in the Trinitarian understanding of the Christian tradition, there is the first person of the Trinity, God the Father, who is the distant God, because God the Father does not become incarnate. He is the second person who becomes incarnate,
Right.
as Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
And so the Holy Spirit does not become incarnate. So when Christians pray, they pray of course to the Father, Son and Holy Spirit, but most of the time they are praying to Jesus Christ, because the second person became incarnate, and
Yeah.
we feel more at home with him,
Yes.
the one of us. So that also is there in the avatar understanding. And then of course there's a sense of value is given to the world, because God becomes incarnate in the world. So these are just a few examples of similarities. Okay? But then there are also differences on account of which we can learn from one another. So for example, there are many incarnations or many descents in the Hindu Vaishnavite tradition, coming again and again. That makes sense because it is a cyclic worldview. But on the other hand, in Christianity, it's a linear worldview. Everything is moving to a final goal. There is no repetition. And therefore it makes sense to have only one incarnation.
Right.
Yes? But I have gone into subtleties. So I have also referred to St. Thomas Aquinas, who says, long ago now, that it is possible that God can incarnate many times.
Oh, he
It's
says that.
very much. So in other words, what St. Thomas Aquinas is holding on the level of possibility,
Right.
Hinduism or Vaishnavism
saying,
is
of
holding on
course.
the level of actuality.
Yes.
Okay. So he's not, therefore, in other words, it's not against the grain for a Christian to think that it is possible, as St. Thomas Aquinas says that one can have many incarnations.
Yeah.
So he says not only that the second person actually became incarnate, but the first person and the third person could also become incarnate in many forms, or could all three become incarnate in one form.
Thomas Aquinas.
St. Thomas Aquinas. So that brings the two
Very much.
ideas together.
Yes.
One is on the level of possibility, but
Yeah.
not denied.
Yeah.
And the other is on the level of actuality.
I suspect that many Roman Catholics are not aware of this.
Yes, many Roman Catholics are not aware of this. Yes, that's very true. That's very true. That's very true. Yeah.
Well,
and then there are a lot of other things like in the Hindu tradition, the social dimension was not given so much emphasis as in Christianity.
Yeah.
Okay? But so the incarnation brings out that aspect as it has been developed in the theology.
Yes.
So Hindus can learn from Christianity on that
Yes.
aspect. Okay? But then we also can learn, because in nowadays, especially in modern Christian theology, we have the understanding that Jesus Christ is one person with two natures, the human nature and divine nature.
Yes.
Okay? But there are some modern Christian theologians who keep this formula, but they say that Jesus Christ was a human person, okay, who was divinized, and therefore has now two natures, divine and human nature.
Oh, so then
Okay,
you
so
get
the formula is kept: one person, two natures. Okay, so it's a kind of ascending thing there.
Right.
Whereas the traditional understanding is that God descends, so he's already a divine person, okay, but then takes on a human nature. Okay, so therefore he has is one person, two natures. So even in this later development, one person, two natures. But it's a completely different understanding for the Orthodox tradition. Okay, so now Hinduism, which emphasizes the divinity of Krishna, even as an avatara, because as a theology develops, not in the text, but as a theology develops, Krishna is only pretending to be hungry, pretending to be thirsty, so that his foster mother Yashoda would practice the parental devotion. Okay? And so even after revealing himself, he hides himself so that they will no more think of that divinity aspect, but think of the parental aspect.
Yes.
Okay? So, but primordially the Bhagavata wants to emphasize the divinity of Krishna.
Yes.
It reminds us that we may be forgetting the divinity of Jesus by humanizing him too much.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So I have written
These are good
extensively on
topics.
this.
Yeah, I'll have to read your article.
Yes, yes. I'll send you the reference.
Thank you. So, Professor Sheth, thank you so much. Thank you for coming, for spending all the time
Most
to
welcome.
come here
Most
to
welcome.
present in the conference, and thank you for sharing these thoughts with us today.
Thank you so much. Namaste.
Namaste.
Thank you.